Hello everyone and welcome to ZankCast, where we interview members of the Bay community. This time we have a pretty awesome guest that is ranked number 6 on the WBO rankings and the number 1 player in Florida. We have CSC Raymond for our guest today.
Hello. Yeah, I'm ready for the interview, man.
All right, thanks so much for being here. Alrighty, just to start off, just ask what got you into Beyblade?
So, no one got me into it, but pretty much one day at Target, looking through the toy section, found a Beyblade, and the next day I took it to school, and pretty much the whole class ended up getting one. So we all played together, grouped together, and from there, my dad was fortunate enough to find the WBO, and yeah, it kind of just took off for me from there.
So the next thing I want to ask is, since you did get into the WBO eventually, what got you into playing into competitive Beyblade events?
So, I always wanted to compete in tournaments where there were a lot of competitors, just see how I would do and test how well the things that I made would compete against other people. So the WBO was kind of a perfect place for that, where they were hosting big competitions and there were plenty of organizers to do it. So yeah, that's pretty much why I ended up competing in WBO.
Right, because you saw a lot of good opportunity to try to test yourself against a lot of skilled players that are also doing the same hobby.
Exactly.
All right, well, since you are at the top, do you have any tips for any bladers that might want to be doing combo creation? You got any kind of secret methods for the combos that you create that gets you at the top?
So I'd say a lot of what I used to do and what really ended up paying off was just a ton of testing. You can never test your stuff enough. I'd say weighing parts actually was a big one for me, because I remember actually watching your videos. You would weigh all the parts when they came out and just things like that. So I kind of took different things that I saw and just tried them out, and overall weighing things and seeing how some different colors actually had different weights to them.
Yeah.
Just helped me overall. So all the testing and watching other videos and how people do it just really helped me improve.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, so I definitely agree with what you were saying before with the weights. I think probably for attack stuff, that's especially important to be a few grams heavier. You look at combos like Guilty and that type of stuff, Xiphoid, Ultimate, I definitely agree that's a pretty good method. I don't know if it's 100% the deciding factor, kind of like stars on the disc, but I definitely think what you said is true, that you do have to factor in a lot and kind of see what other players are doing to adapt to them.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So, since you've done so well in events and you managed to succeed very, very well being at the top right now for Florida, what are some things that you've learned at events that helped you succeed, like the performance at events?
So, performing at events, I'd say that helps me succeed is when you're in the top 8, the more you're there and the more you do good, and of course advance to top 8, you learn more while you're there, because top 8 is kind of where you get placed for a tournament. So you gain more and more experience when you're up there, and if you can keep getting top 8, you slowly will master that technique where you know what to choose and when to choose it in deck format, and various things like that in top 8.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. Even if you start losing at an event, you're still possible to make a comeback to get to top 8. A thing that I've learned quite a bit is that if I try to use something and I lose with it, I'm not using it anymore at the event. Yeah, so I definitely agree on the idea of adapting, like I was saying, and I think you definitely raised some pretty good points. So, yeah, no, I was going to say too, losing and all that stuff, never to feel kind of discouraged, but, I kind of want to get your opinion on this. What is your thoughts on Beyblade Bursts? Because I know you've played quite a bit of it, so you kind of have a little bit of perspective. Do you like how they handled the bays? Do you like how they handled the bursting? What were your thoughts on that generation?
So, I mean, Beyblade Burst is like what I started with because I never played Metal Fight. But I think in older generations of it like the burst gimmick, for example, was more of a thing because like now you have dash drivers, the metal drivers, so like things don't burst anymore. So I feel like the burst gimmick isn't really, or it shouldn't even be incorporated. But I guess it's just there for funsies. But like I don't see Beyblade's burst in tournaments anymore, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I even had a conversation with someone about this before, at least in Burst Standard. Even, I think this goes back to partially sparking. An issue with a lot of these bays is that you rarely see anything burst. I think the only time I've seen a burst in like the events we've hosted has maybe been like once out of like maybe like 100 plus matches, 200, 150. I don't even. It's so rare now that I'm like, because with how the system develops, like you would think that they would find some way to the thing that the series is called, right, for it to actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it just they don't burst. I don't know.
So this is where I wanted to actually lead into the discussion of Beyblade X, as I will always lead into at the end. But for Beyblade X, at least from what we know, the bays are supposed to burst again. So kind of, how would you want to see the bays burst? Like, how would you want to, from what we know so far, based on kind of like the visuals, or even just in your opinion, how would you want TAKARA TOMY to kind of make the bays explode if it was going to be like the same as you just like twist and lock it as before?
So personally, when sparking Beyblades were out and like they had the chassis, like I didn't like. Of course, they didn't. Those were like really hard to burst too, but I didn't like how just the driver popped off. I don't know why. It just didn't feel like a burst to me. But I think they should like almost be easier to burst as the first few generations of burst were. I'd like to see more burst finishes. Definitely, I want to see more like attack types, not just like smashing Beyblades against the wall, but actually like being able to do their job and get a burst finish. I don't want to see Beyblades get much bigger without a stadium change than they are right now. Because I mean, like with wind lately, I mean they're just huge. So yeah, I definitely want to see like more reasonably sized Beyblades and more burst finishes for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the size. I would wish it would be consistent like plastics or like the single and dual layers. I feel like it's gotten to a point where if you're doing the standard stadium, and especially if you consider rebounds where it's only a KO if it touches the floor, yeah, that's a very scary.
Yeah, it doesn't really work out.
I think definitely what you said, I would also like to see a little bit of, not even necessarily just burst more, just make it to where it's not as like detrimental to the design, because a big issue that with how the bays are in burst is that teeth wear. Yeah, you have to buy like 20 copies.
Exactly, yes.
If they could find some way to get around that, I would be very pleased. But I'm curious a little bit on your opinion. We'll first go over the points, because at least from what the rumors are, the point system is supposed to be, 5 is not confirmed, but it should be up to 5, where it's 1 point for an outspin, 2 for bursting, and 3 for KO. So I'm a little bit curious, kind of, what are your thoughts just on that, the direction they're going?
So, I mean, my personal like first take on that was always bursts should be more like point awarded because they're just harder to do. I mean, there's not many, but there's definitely stamina matches that you'll get a knockout if you launch the Beyblade really, really hard. So I think if anything's going to be 3 points, it's gonna be a burst unless the Beyblades are harder to make burst or something like that, for sure.
So I'm a little bit curious too. What are your thoughts on this stadium? Yeah, so at least based on what you saw, and kind of like how I described, what are your kind of thoughts on that stadium design, factoring in kind of the points stuff I just said?
So I personally like a more like smooth bottom stadium where there's like no grooves. So you can kind of like launch, say, a flower pattern and not have like a groove mess it up, stuff like that. But for 3 points and there's 4 pockets, I don't necessarily agree with it. I'd have to see how it's executed.
Fair.
Yeah. So I mean that's what my first initial is.
Yeah, I saw the thing too. I can't even. I don't know how many. I don't know the pocket number exactly. Three, four, whatever. Regardless, still like KO's a lot. But like,
Yeah.
it seems in a way they're trying to like enforce the idea of like attack types, which I think after like seeing like the DB stadium for all like. I mean, there's technically attack types. I shouldn't say there's none, but at least like it's a minimal amount compared to something like the original standard. So maybe this is like their apology to all the attack players.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in terms of Beyblade X, do you have any wish list that you want to see them implement? Maybe you want to see any kind of returning motifs. What's your wish list? Because we got like I think like a month before they try to reveal anything big.
So, like a wish list for what comes out. Like I said before, definitely don't want them to be too big. Like I'd like reasonably sized Beyblades. I want to see more attack Beyblades because now like I pretty much only see like a Longinus used every so often. So yeah, I'd like to see more attack types. Definitely more variety on drivers because Burst pretty much went through all of that. So yeah, I'm really curious actually to see like what new comes out for drivers and if they have mode changes and things like that.
100%. I think that's actually part of the fun of just waiting now, just the mystery of them. I definitely would agree with what you said on the attack types. I feel like the Burst was so weird how they did it at the start, especially because the things explode. Attack types logically should have the strongest locks possible, or as it should. I would think should be tough because if you have a weak lock attack type, that's basically the issue you had at the start. Where like, I know there was other stuff that could be used more, but before dash drivers, you had like the original Excalibur. So it really just depends, I guess, how they make them explode. In fairness, but no, I 100% agree with what you said for sure. So I think it was a pretty good combo. So if there's anything you want to talk about at all, any hobbies, whatever, if there's anything you want to plug at the end, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, besides Beyblade, like I'd say Beyblade kind of like introduced me to the whole anime crowd, which I've really enjoyed. I don't think without Beyblade I would have got there. Like I just love the people involved in all of it and like what they do for certain anime, certain scenes. Not getting too far into that, but I did watch the Beyblade anime actually a lot. I haven't seen recent seasons, but I think Evolution was my time for sure.
And also, you have a very strong scene that the Florida meta is insane. I think I only was their real experience. I think like really one real time, but I think you have a very great community there with a lot of nice people and like a lot of top players are in Florida too. So it's like you're basically kind of like with some of the best of the best.
Yeah, great scene down here.
So do you have any, I guess I have to ask those at the end, is there any plans or announcements for 2023? Who are you going to take down at the tournament? Any call-outs?
Man, I'm honestly, for 2023, at least this summer, I really want to see some new great players come in for Florida because we need some new people like to come behind us. I mean, we need like more kids coming in and just, you know, taking some of us down. We need more people here, I think. So I think the more Beyblade expands and hopefully Beyblade X really like sweeps, like I'd say Metal did. I just hope something like that happens down here and the scene can really expand.
Alrighty, awesome, and thank you so much for your time. If you want me to plug any like social medias or whatever, I can make sure to leave links, by the way.
For sure. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much. Alrighty, well then, that'll be it for now. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day and bye.